On Friday, November 12, 2010, Arlen Gastineau and two of his friends left Safety Harbor, Florida for a fishing trip on the Gulf of Mexico.
About 28 miles offshore, it was choppy and a little rough, so we decided to stop and fish at that point. We caught 9 grouper and 1 keeper, and then decided about 3:30 or so to head back. And we noticed we were taking on some water. The first thing we did was to throw out the anchor, raise the motor, check it out. There was water in the cowling, so we knew it was bad. Of course, by that time, we all had our jackets on and secured.
At approximately 6:30 that night, the boat capsized. Fortunately, all 3 men were wearing their life jackets.
So when the boat went over, my buddy on the front was at the bow, and he pulled up the anchor rope. And I was about 6 or 7 feet behind the boat after I got in the water. So I swam and pulled up to the side of the boat, and he wrapped the rope around us and then tied it to the front of the boat. Waves hit off of the boat so they would come to your face. My buddy told me he'd never seen anybody hold their nose for 18 hours like I did, but I didn't like that salt water. We kept talking to each other throughout the night. Finally, about 12:30 a.m., I found the light switch on my watch and checked the time. And we'd been in the water 6.5 hours. And I said, "Oh, this is going fast. We'll be up out of here soon."
When he had not returned as planned, Mr. Gastineau's concerned relatives notified the Coast Guard. The U.S. Coast Guard Sector St. Petersburg and Station San Key began a search and rescue operation. Using ships, planes, and helicopters, the Coast Guard looked for the men throughout the night, but was unable to locate them. The next morning, Hernando Beach Coast Guard Auxiliary pilot David Lemon was asked to join the mission.
They were searching all night with helicopters and had not been able to find them using their night vision goggles and their forward-looking infrared. So they expanded the search and called out the auxiliary to run one of the search patterns and a C-130 that was running another one. We were tasked with a first light search, meaning that we were to be out there at sunrise. We had a search action plan assigned by the sector commander to keep us separate from the other C-130s that were also in the same search area. We proceeded out and flew a pattern at approximately 500 feet looking for boats in distress.
So it was about 11:30 when the C-130 came over. They were looking at boats and he said, they're fishing. Oh, there's 3 guys in the water.
After 18 hours in the water, a Coast Guard plane spotted the missing boaters. The Coast Guard Auxiliary, and the Florida Department of Fish and Wildlife worked together to bring the men back to shore.
We responded to the target area with the C-130, so we orbited over the top of them and then provided being the on-scene communications guard and relaying the target location to the responding surface vessels.
I recently joined Dave on an auxiliary air patrol and asked him what someone should do if, in a worst-case scenario, they found themselves in the water following a boating accident.
Ideally, you'll have your life preservers on. It's too late to get life preserver on once you're in the water and the boat's upside down. But ideally, if you have your life preserver, then try to get back onto the boat and stay with the hull.
Some boaters don't wear their life jackets because they know how to swim. But it's really important to have your life jacket on while you're still in the boat in case you end up in the water. Just ask Mr. Gastineau.
Nobody plans to get thrown overboard, or nobody plans to swamp their boat. And so if it's going to be an unplanned event, it's going to be an emergency situation, and you're going to be in the water with whatever you have on at the time.
And if your boat capsizes, stay with the boat?
Absolutely important. We can see an upside-down boat that's 25 feet long a lot better than a head floating in the water in a life jacket.
Reverse course here for real world. We've got an empty boat, it looks like, out here. Sector St. Pete, Ox Air 41 Papa Delta.
While we were out on patrol, Dave spotted an overturned canoe. After contacting the Coast Guard in St. Petersburg, he saw a fishing boat nearby. Switching to radio channel 16, he was able to contact the boat. The fishing boat set off for the canoe but found it empty. We later learned that the canoe had drifted away from its dock without anyone noticing.
Every day that we go out, we're on a search pattern. We're always looking out for somebody who might be in distress. Typically, when somebody's in the water, they may or may not had time to announce their problem or request a distress call. And just by looking out the window and observing the water as we're flying over it, being on the alert for an emergency situation. I saw the canoe was obviously upside down, so that immediately then starts the SAR practice of notifying the authorities, determining whether there's anybody in the area that needs help. The bottom line is that you're helping somebody else. I spent 10 years on active duty flying throughout the Pacific, and then I went into the civil service for 30 years as a science advisor in the different staffs around the world. After 41 years of doing this in the Navy, I figured it might as well keep it going in the Coast